Hello and welcome to Knobi Cooks. Today we are cooking salmon with Parmesan nut crust, rice, a white wine sauce and some oven carrots. This is an impressive, tasty and yet simple dish you can prepare in very little time. So let's get into it. So today we will need some nuts, some carrots, a bit of olive oil, some breadcrumbs, a piece of butter, a blender, a couple of shallots, a small bottle of white wine, a couple of garlic cloves, some spices. And in addition to that we'll need some flour, some cream cheese and a pot with butter for our sauce, some water for the rice, our rice, and of course our salmon fillets for the salmon. So first of all, let's prepare our crust. We'll take our mix of nuts. I've got hazelnuts, walnuts, almonds and cashews. In this blender we'll add the garlic cloves and some spices to it. For spices we'll need some sage. I'm using homegrown dried sage, but if you've got fresh one, that's way better. In addition to that, we'll add some parsley to the blender. Next up, we will add some black pepper to spice everything up. The first step for the crust is basically over. Now we will need to blend our nut mix. I've got this portable blender right here, which is very practical. You can use any kind of nuts for this crust. I'm using a mix just for some extra taste, but you can use only walnuts or hazelnuts. Just take those you like the most. Also, when blending, be careful not to blend everything too fine, because you want some crunchy parts in your crust. This just adds more texture later on when eating the salmon. As you can see, I've got some rougher chunks in there, but also some fine ground stuff. And the next step, we will add our blended nut mix to the butter in a bowl, because we will need to net it to a nice dough afterwards. If you don't have butter lying around, you can substitute it with some oil, but you'll need some kind of fat for this crust. Oh, and of course you'll need your Parmesan, which I totally forgot when listing up all the ingredients. So we'll add that to the mix, as well as our breadcrumbs. With all our base ingredients in our bowl, we can start netting the crust to a nice dough. Make sure to net it thoroughly and properly so the butter mixes with all the other ingredients and you don't have a large chunk of butter and some very loose ground stuff lying around in your bowl. It is important here to get into the action with your hands. Don't be shy of just netting everything thoroughly. You can wash your hands afterwards, even if it sometimes may feel funny. I'd recommend you to make some more crust rather than too little, because more crust is always better and really is that tasty, trust me. As soon as it feels nice and doughy, our crust is now ready to be put onto the salmon. You'll just form smaller chunks and then press it gently onto the salmon. You do this until all of your crust is directly on the salmon, and if you've got some extra crust, you can just lay it out next to the salmon and bake it. It always makes for a nice side. I've got some more crusts for salmon in my repertoire, so watch out for another salmon crust special video later on. All those crusts are almost equally as tasty as this one, though this clearly is my favorite. And now that we've put all our crust onto the salmon, we can move on to cutting our first vegetables. We will start with our carrots. The carrots will go onto the baking tray next to the salmon. I'm doing very rough dices here, just one lateral cut and then dicing the carrots up. If you want some variation for this dish, you can always exchange the baked carrots for some spinach or some peas. In my opinion, they do great next to a white sauce and some salmon. After cutting all our carrots, we'll put them into a bowl with some olive oil. The olive oil will add some extra taste and some crispiness when baking these carrots. And in addition to the olive oil, we'll add some pepper and a little bit of salt. I very much like making oven carrots as a side to this dish because they just can go onto the same baking tray as the salmon, which just saves you time and effort, and you need to wash less dishes afterwards. I always recommend you do some vegetable side to any dish you do, because it just adds color and variation and makes everything seem way tastier. An added benefit of adding vegetables to your dishes are all those vitamins and fiber in your food, which are good for your health. Now everything we need to put into the oven is on our baking tray. We can start baking. So basically this food will cook itself and we can prepare our sauce and rice while we wait for the salmon and the carrots to finish. If you have a rice cooker, you can use that for cooking your rice. If not, then just prepare your rice in a pot. The only thing left that needs cutting are our shallots. I'll dice them up for the sauce. Here I recommend you do some smaller dices, but they can be a little bit rough. Just don't let them get too big, or otherwise the sauce will get too chunky. If you don't like shallots, you can use some milder onions, but I don't recommend ordinary onions for the sauce. They might be too strong in taste for this sauce. Now simply put the shallots into the pot to the butter, heat everything up, and then let it simmer for a while until the shallots start getting glassy. For this sauce I'm using butter for the extra bit of taste, but if you don't have butter at hand, you can use some kind of rather tasteless oil as a base for this sauce. To get the sauce nice and creamy, we will use some flour roux as a base. And in addition to that, we add the cream cheese later on. If you use cream cheese, the sauce will get extra creamy. If you're using something like cream, the sauce will be much more liquid than with cream cheese. Now let's take a look into the oven. Oh, and I totally forgot to mention the temperature I'm using. I'm using top and bottom heat at about 180 degrees Celsius. That's about 350 degrees Fahrenheit for you. When preparing your roux, be careful to not let the flour burn in your pot. To prevent anything from burning, just lower the heat and keep stirring the flour and the onions around in the pot. You can also add some additional oil. This too helps prevent anything from burning. As soon as the flour starts browning, stop stirring around and then add the white wine into your pot. Deglazing the roux and onions with some white wine adds an extra little something to the sauce, rather than just deglazing everything with some water. Now stir the base of your sauce and put on some extra heat, because you want to get that wine to a boil right now. As soon as the sauce starts boiling, everything should get stickier and gluier in the pot. This is exactly the right time to add the cream cheese to the sauce. Just let it boil for a little and then add it to the sauce. If you want to have more sauce, you can either use more cream cheese or you can add a little more water to the mix. Also, if at any point your sauce gets too liquid, there's a nice trick. Simply mix some flour and some cold water. It's important that it's cold water, and dissolve all the flour in your cold water. As soon as everything's dissolved, you can add this water to the sauce. Just bring everything to a boil again and your sauce should thicken. This type of white wine sauce is my favorite kind of sauce to serve with some fish. After some time, maybe 10 to 20 minutes max, you should activate the air circulation in your stove. This ensures our crust will get nice and crispy, and our carrots will also get a little bit crispy. But don't just take my time measurements as a given. Take a look at the food in your oven and then turn on your air circulation whenever it feels appropriate. We're nearing the end now, so let's start seasoning our sauce. For this sauce I'm recommending some dill, some nutmeg, some black pepper, a little bit of salt but not too much. Again, we will add some sage, and that's basically it for the sauce. Stir everything under, reduce the heat, and your sauce is basically done. This only leaves the rice and our salmon with the carrots in the oven. I recommend you serve your rice with a little bit of bite, But if you prefer a rather squishy rice, more power to you, just cook it as you like it. The white rice in combination with our white sauce, with our pink spots, the shallots in it, will give a nice contrast to our orange carrots and the brown crust of the salmon. This dish really is an eye catcher, and it is also a taste catcher. You can also try other types of fish with this crust recipe. Maybe try a pollock or use cod as an alternative, depending on how sour you like your sauce. I recommend you add some lemon juice to the sauce for that extra bit of fruitiness. A nice trick for always having some lemon juice around for cooking is just squeezing out some lemons and then putting the lemon juice into a mold for ice cubes. Afterwards you simply freeze it and you'll always have lemon juice at your disposal for cooking. With this last ingredient in our sauce and our baked goods done, well, the dish is basically ready to eat. I would say the salmon took maybe 10 to 15 minutes more in the stove after activating the fan. And I must say, the salmon with the crust and those carrots, do they look gorgeous. This is the perfect dish for you if you want to impress some guests but don't have too much experience in cooking. Thanks for watching this episode of Knobi Cooks. I hope you liked it. Tell me in the comments how you liked this dish and if it was as tasty for you as it is for me. Goodbye.